everyone. This is Melissa Tsiodakis here with A Breath of Fresh Marketing. And tonight we have Ms. Selina Joy Jackson, creator of Success and Mastery Consulting, creating videos for academic achievement and social and emotional mastery. She's joining us tonight. Hello, Ms. Jackson. How are you?
Hello, Melissa. I'm doing well.
Great, thanks. How's your week gone so far now that we're coming to the end of it?
I know, right? Actually, it's really been uplifting. I just finished with a teacher. She's a brand new teacher, right? So this is new for her.
Okay. Nice.
And she's been put in this situation now where, they're teaching virtually.
Right.
And so just watching, when I first visited the classroom virtually, and watching all of the children and looking at their body language and seeing, the disengagement, and how they're fidgeting, and just watching watching myself do strategies, show this teacher strategies, and seeing the whole classroom experience transform. Wow, I tell you, that was just, it was just awesome.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with Success and Mastery Consulting.
Okay, well, I actually taught for about 20 years. I taught all grade levels. And while I was teaching, I noticed that there were certain students who were not performing well in school. And there seemed to be the same type of students who weren't performing well. And so there's really something inside of me that likes a challenge, so I really was drawn to help these kids. And maybe it's because I'm someone who lost my mother, when I was young, and ended up going into the foster care system. And so bouncing from foster home to foster home, I don't recall feeling like I was wanted. And so I know what it feels like not to be wanted, or not to feel like I'm wanted. And so I didn't want any kid to feel that way. I didn't want them to feel like, no one wanted them.
Aww.
So I would take all the kids that, some of the other teachers, had difficulty handling. And so from there, I started doing educational consulting.
Well, you took something that sounded very difficult in your life, and you turned it into something where you're able to not only persevere personally, but also help so many other kids. So that's really great.
Yeah, thank you. Psychologically, what I've discovered, and this is true for all of us as humans, whatever you did not get enough of as a child, did you know that actually turns out as a gift for you as an adult? Did you know that?
I didn't know that until now, and I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that either. That's really interesting. That's powerful, that statement.
Yes, it is. So if you felt like you didn't get enough love and attention as a child, then as an adult, that becomes a gift for you. You really know how to show people, love and attention.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Have you found it challenging working virtually as opposed to in person? And how have you adapted your techniques for your virtual environment?
Well, I'd like to say, oh no, there's no challenge. But if I said that, I would be lying. Because I'm the type of person. I I like see. I spent the last 15 years going into different schools all over the place. And I got to walk into all kinds of classrooms, and be in the room with the children, and with the teacher, hands on, right there in the trenches, and I really like that. I like um, that feeling of connection,
Mhm.
being there and being live, And so I miss that. It was very challenging for me when COVID hit because all the schools closed,
Right.
and that prevented me from doing what I really love to do. So, for the first couple months, I was walking around here like, what happened, And
Yeah.
because, uh, you know, like I mentioned earlier, um, going into foster homes and bouncing around, and uh, during the time that I was supposed to have been learning how to manage my emotions, and
Mhm.
manage my life successfully, nobody taught me that. Nobody taught
Mhm.
me that. So when I became an adult, a young adult in my 20s, I had problems with anxiety. There were times that I had anxiety attacks every day, and so because of that, and understanding how emotions work,
Mhm.
it drove me actually to understand, to learn more about how emotions affect us. And so, just my knowing that, I was able to uh, calm my own anxieties and recognize the anxiety and the worry and the frustration in other people. And because I know that, I decided, well, you know, it's time for me to transfer my stuff online. And
Hey.
listen, quiet is kept. I've been wanting to build an online platform
Yeah.
so that I could help. So that's what I did. I jumped in, and I now have an online training program where people can go and in the comfort of their own homes, and take their time and just learn uh, more about themselves, their emotional life, and how to help their children, and just contribute to the well-being of all the people around them.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. No, that's great. And how do you see the education system changing after COVID?
Well, I don't know anyone who ever thought that we'd be in this situation,
Right.
where kids can't go to school,
Mhm.
and where they're at home and where parents are now supervising the learning, or many parents are doing that. I don't think anybody foresaw this. So because we got here, this has now opened up new possibilities for education.
Right.
I see in the future, they will probably always now have some kind of hybrid learning situation available for people because, especially if we're talking about, um, the climate change, and if people really start to, if the government really starts to focus on that and do something about it. I see one of the things that they will probably do is shorten the school week where kids are doing some of their classes at home. I see that as a possibility. I mean, it may not happen, but we didn't see this
Right.
as a possibility,
That's right.
And so I see that happening. I also see um, that there are going to be many children who go back to school and they will have suffered learning loss because of this. You know, a lot of children are going to be behind their grade level because they they haven't been really able to learn well. And the reason they haven't is, so listen, they used to think that uh, learning just simply happened, right?
Yeah.
You go to school and you learn, you know, and the old perception claims that good behavior facilitates learning. Well, that's not true. The new perception is attitude facilitates learning. And this includes positive attitudes, you know, like curiosity, empowerment, hope, and the actual enjoyment of the learning process. So, because of this, we have children at home who are feeling anxious, you know, and worried and fearful about the future and restless. And they're in a learning situation at home and they have all these intense emotions that are swimming around, you know, in their minds. And because learning is associated with mood, right? Memory is associated with mood. So watch this. Did you know that whatever mood you're in when you're learning something, you have to actually go back into that mood in order to remember it?
You know, I learned in health class in 7th grade that was true if you were drinking alcohol, that if you learned something while you were under the influence, the only way you can remember it or go back to it would be that you'd have to be under the influence again. So it's kind of interesting because I just remembered that fun fact when you said that.
Right.
But so it's the same then, you know, if of course alcohol is not involved, but that's very interesting.
Yes. And so look, if you have children at home who are feeling anxious and restless, which they can't help feeling that way because of this situation, and parents are trying to get them to learn, right? You know, you sit down and, okay, come on, we're going to have virtual learning. But the parent hasn't done anything to help dissolve anxiety and to instead put the child in a learning mood. That child is not going to remember anything they learned.
Right.
Because in order to remember it, they have to go back into that, you know, anxious and restless mood. Now, what mind wants to do that?
Right. That makes sense. So, from an emotional and developmental standpoint, how are the educators dealing with virtual learning? Because, I mean, a lot of these teachers, this is brand new for them. And,
Yes.
you know, they're having to learn how to adapt. What are you seeing?
Oh, yes. So, look, here we are in a new learning situation, right? I call this a high emo octane learning environment. You know what I mean when I say a high emo octane?
No.
A high emo, a high emotional
Oh, okay.
octane learning environment. That means there are strong, you know, intense emotions just swimming all around. All of us are having them. We can't help it because we're all emotional beings. We're always feeling. The problem happens if you're not aware of what you're feeling. That's when the problem happens. Because if you're not aware of what you're feeling, you know, and you're feeling, you know, anxious and frustrated, like many parents are feeling, and teachers are feeling that way, what happens is you swallow the emotion. But buried emotions don't die. They stay there and they fester. And later on, they come back up and they wreak havoc. So I see a lot of teachers that are feeling frustrated, you know, and angry and even fearful, you know, and uncertain about the future, you know, and So if they don't, in fact, that's what I do with my clients. I help them to release those emotions and find an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs an anchor right now. Because if the teacher's frustrated, right, and she goes online to teach the children,
Mm-hmm.
and she's feeling that emotion, here's what happens. You have a forehead over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you were in front of me, I'd tell you, put your two fingers on your forehead and say, this is my frontal lobe. So pretend I'm there and do that.
Okay. I got my fingers on my frontal lobe.
All right. The frontal lobe is responsible for making good decisions, exercising good judgment, making plans, and executing those plans. You can take your fingers down now.
Okay.
I know you're over there. How long do I have to keep my fingers up my forehead? Okay.
Yeah. Good thing you told me. I'd be here all night with my fingers on my
Right?
head.
Anytime someone is upset, like let's say a teacher or a parent is upset, the frontal lobe shuts down because the blood leaves it to go back into the limbic system to handle the emotion. So what happens is that teacher or that adult is now dealing with everything that comes to them through their emotional brain. And that never works. That's the first problem. The second problem is children, their frontal lobe is not fully developed. So they're always in their emotional brain. So if that teacher comes in and she's upset, that student is going to pick up her energy even through the computer, even through the screen.
Right.
And that will block the child from learning. That child will pick up the teacher's intense emotion and mirror it. And that's because of something called mirror neurons. So teachers and parents, whoever's dealing with children, you need to be able to put yourself in a positive teaching frame of mind or a positive parenting frame of mind before you interact with the child. Would you like a quick, powerful strategy to know how to do that?
I'd love one.
Okay. This is how you do it. Well, let's just say this is one way you can do it. You ask yourself the question, how do I know when I am in a positive parenting frame of mind? Right? So if you're in parenting mode, that's the question you want to ask. How do I know when I'm in a positive parenting frame of mind? If you're in teaching mode, then you would ask, how do I know when I'm in a positive teaching frame of mind? Now, you're probably wondering, how does that, why asking a question like that, why will that actually put you in that frame of mind? Would you like to know why?
I would love to
know you would, and I'm going to tell you anyway. Because I never like to give a strategy without explaining the psychology behind the strategy. Because if you understand the psychology, you can come up with your own strategies. Okay, here's why. I had you ask a question, right? How do I know when I'm in a positive teaching frame of mind? Did you know that the mind cannot not answer a question?
Well, that makes sense. But no, I didn't know that.
Anytime you ask yourself a question or anyone else a question, including your children, you send the mind on a search through 30 bits of information per second to find the answer. And the answer is going to come up. So when you ask, oh, how do I know when I'm in a positive parenting frame of mind? What is it like when I'm in a positive parenting frame of mind? By the way, asking 2 questions doubles the power. Your mind brings up the answer of how you know, and it actually puts you in that frame of mind. It puts you in that mood. Is that remarkable or what?
Yeah. Wow. That really is.
So look, be careful of the questions you ask. Like, don't ask your child, what's wrong with you? You just set that child's mind on a search to find everything it thinks is wrong with it. And all of those
Wow.
answers are going to come up. They're going to start feeling bad about themselves. And look, negative feelings determine or promote negative behavior. That's where behavior comes from because of how
Mm,
people feel. Be careful of the questions you ask.
okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the parents. So, of course, parents have been having to take on more of an active role in their child's day-to-day
Mhm.
education. What guidance would you offer them to help them? Because I mean, it's so hard.
Yes.
It's so hard. I mean, what would you tell them?
Yes. The one thing that I just shared, make sure you're always in a positive teaching or parenting frame of mind before you interact with that child. That's one thing.
Okay.
Number two, let me ask you a question. You said it's so
Sure.
hard. What are you as a parent finding as hard right now?
Well, I have a toddler, and it's a little different because, I mean, she's not in school. I was going to send her to school in the fall, but with COVID, I decided not to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she was receiving some services, and then, I had different therapists come into the home to work with her. And I said, well, let's do it remotely, but it's hard for me because I own a business and I work so much. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to be able to dedicate the time to sitting there with her on an
Yes,
iPad and manage her, paying attention to what she's doing. And, it takes a big chunk of hours out of the week. And then if I don't do it, I feel guilty that I didn't have the time to do it. But it's really tough because I have to be able to dedicate the time to sit there with her.
sure.
So that's my situation. And I know all the parents have their own different
Mm-hmm.
situations. And my husband's working all the time too. So I can't expect him to not be on the phones and same kind of situation. So, for us, we're trying to find the time to teach our daughter where she needs the most help
Mm-hmm.
so that she can, continue to progress with wherever she needs the help. And I mean, I think about it, there's a lot of parents out there that have older children. They have, several children. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
how do they balance
Right,
that with their work? How do they balance that with each one of their
right.
children and helping them? I mean, finding the time and then also having the patience and, because now they're having to take on the role of the
Yes,
teacher as well as the parent,
yes,
and they have to make sure that they're enforcing everything and doing everything that their teachers, the children's teachers, are telling them through the iPad and everything,
yes,
and the remote learning. So I just feel like it's all just so difficult. I mean, how are you helping parents deal with that?
yes. Well, here's the thing. It's really important for parents to know how to motivate their children, to get them to want to show up and do their best, no matter what the learning process or platform. See, students need a reason for studying and learning. They need a reason. Right now, probably a lot of kids are doing the online learning because somebody's telling them to do it. They don't
Mm,
have their own internal motivation to do it. So the question becomes, how do you motivate a child and get them to want to learn no matter what the platform is? Here's the most powerful thing that I have seen in terms of motivating children to want to learn. Like, remember when I was talking about, I just finished with a teacher earlier today, and she had, um, I think these were first graders. So you can imagine she's got these first graders all splattered across this screen. And I'm visiting, so I'm watching, and I can see, some kids jumping around, some are sitting there, and one, he's sitting and all of this. So I can tell, number one, they're not engaged.
Right.
right? So because I understand that the way the mind works, the mind is only concerned with something that it knows it's going to need for future use. Okay? The mind will pay attention to something that it thinks is going to help them in the future. That's one of the qualities of the mind that's important for parents to understand. Number two, the mind wants to move toward pleasure and away from pain. You probably heard that before.
Yeah. Yep.
So I took those two elements about the mind, and this is what I said. I said, hey, all of you children out there who want to have your own car when you grow up, raise your hand. Well, as soon as I said that, they all raised their hands. So then I asked them, okay, tell me what kind of car you want. And I let them all tell me the kind of car. Oh, a Maserati, a red Maserati, and a pink car. One little girl said, I want a pink car, and I let them describe the car that they wanted to have. See, as soon as I did that, I got their attention. You know why? Because I asked them about something that they wanted in their future.
Yeah, so they can envision it and you're trying to relate to them.
Yes. And now here's the key. In order to motivate children to want to learn, you have to connect learning to their future success and happiness. So once I asked them about what kind of car they wanted to have, is you present a real life problem that shows them how what you're about to teach them in school is going to help them solve that problem. So I said, okay, because I knew they were getting ready to learn sight words. So that's reading. So I said, okay, when you go and buy your car, look at me, you all, look at me. When you go and buy your car, and I picked up a stack of papers and I showed them, I said, they're going to give you something called a contract. If you do not understand the language on that contract, there's going to be a lot of words on that contract. If you don't understand it, you could lose money. You may not be able to get the best deal. They may not be offering you the best deal. You might even get cheated. See, as soon as I said that, then I said, how many of you want to get cheated? Nobody raised their hand. I said, okay, we're about to learn some sight words now. The better able you are at learning these sight words, the better able you are at negotiating that contract so you can get the best deal that's fair and have fun driving your car safely. Do you know we had those 6-year-olds online for 1 hour and 6 minutes? We had them paying because we kept tossing that out there, real life, you want to drive your car. You're going to have to get a license to do that. When you do that, you're going to have to go and read and study a test. If you don't learn how to read, you're not going to be able to get, you see, you attach it to real life. See, if I were to ask you a question, what is the difference between teaching school versus teaching life? What would you say?
Well, you can't teach life. Life is something that you have to kind of learn as you go, and you need the tools in school to figure out how to get through life.
You just said it. The purpose of school is to provide the tools to students to help them manage their lives successfully. That is the real purpose of school. So when you think of it in terms of that, everything that happens in school really has a real life application. Like in a high school classroom some time ago, this was in an underprivileged area. And this was 10th grade, and the teacher was teaching the quadratic equation. These kids were getting up and walking out of the class. They were playing with their phones. and few of them were paying attention. When I shared this concept with the teacher, I said, you have to present a real life problem and show them how their learning math is going to help them solve that real life problem. So I suggested to him, go get a 1040 tax sheet, bring it back to class tomorrow, hold it up and say, and this is what he did. I came back and watched him do it. He held it up in front of the kids and he said, okay, this is a 1040 tax sheet. Raise your hand if you know what it is. Well, some of them raised their hands. Okay, you probably know this has to do with paying taxes. You are all going to have to pay taxes very soon. Now, remember, this is high school. If you don't know how to fill out this 1040 sheet, if you don't know how to follow the steps to fill it out properly, you are going to lose money. You're going to end up paying more money than you might have to pay on your taxes. Then he said, I'm going to teach you the quadratic equation. There are a series of steps that you will follow. The better able you are at mastering these steps, the better able you will be able to master the steps of following this tax form and keeping the IRS out of your pocket. Do you know, it blew my mind. And I mean, I teach this stuff and I know it works, but just to watch it transform, those kids were taking notes. They were like, wait, what did you say? What's that? What's that formula? It like transformed everything.
Yeah. Now they're interested. You're building their interest, and they're like, wait a minute,
Absolutely.
you need to know how to do this stuff.
That's what you have to do with your kids. You have to show them. And like one of the things that kids can really learn right now, that's a real life skill, is resilience. Because we're in a situation, right. Who knew we were going to be here? And resilience, right. What's your definition of resilience?
My definition is the ability to kind of pick back up from where you left off, and it's how you kind of rebuild yourself, and how you're able to pick up the pieces and move forward because you're resilient.
Okay, so this is what I hear you saying. It's your ability to bounce back and pick up the pieces after you've gone through a crisis, or even during the crisis and beyond. That's what I hear you saying. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, you filled in some gaps for me, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they call me the gap filler, right? The gap closer. Okay, so look, did you know that people who have resilience and those who lack resilience have a different mindset? There's an actual belief that people who have resilience have, that people who don't have resilience don't have. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's a lot of things you're putting into perspective tonight that I haven't really thought about. So very interesting.
You want to know what that belief is?
I know you're
I'm going to tell you. Come on, look. And by the way, we're talking about beliefs at the subconscious level. We're not talking about conscious beliefs, because 95% of all behavior comes from the subconscious. So it's really the subconscious beliefs that cause the problem, those limiting beliefs. See, people who lack resilience at the subconscious level, what they really believe is there's something happening that I can't handle.
Yeah, it's really tough, when you think about it, and not everybody has that, that ability to do that. But but let's move along, because we have quite a bit to cover. So I want to make sure that we're getting through these questions. So how many books have you published? Talk to us.
Wow. I can think of about 5. I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 of them. One is emotional competence. It's called Emotional Competence. I recommend that. I actually wrote it for teachers or people who were dealing with children. And what I've discovered is many parents are getting the book now because they're dealing with their kids at home. So that book will help you to understand your child better. It'll help you to understand yourself better. Like, for example, did you know that all of the different emotions like fear, anger, frustration, sadness, they all have an underlying meaning. And if you don't
Oh yeah.
if you don't
Oh yeah.
know the true meaning of the emotion, like for example, frustration and anger, many people mistake frustration for anger. But frustration means
Mm-hmm.
something or someone is blocking you from your goal. Anger means somebody has
Mm-hmm.
violated your values or standards. The problem is if
Hmm.
you mistake one for the other, if you're feeling frustrated but you call it anger, the subconscious can't argue with you. So it's going to have you responding in anger, you're fused, when that's not the appropriate response, and you won't get the results that you really want to have. So that book breaks the emotions down so that you know how to recognize what you're feeling and how to respond appropriately. It also shows you the role of emotion in teaching, the role of emotion in
Mm-hmm.
learning. It shows you how to speak to a child and upset and calm that child, how to motivate the child. It just has all of those uh, things that parents really need right now to help themselves and help their children. So that's that book.
Okay.
I have another book called How to Get What You Want Faster and Easier. And that's for like business people or just people in the main population who have certain goals. You know, maybe they've had a goal or something that they wanted to achieve. Like I've discovered a lot of people want to lose weight and keep it off, but somehow they can't, or they might want to have and keep a lot more money, but somehow they're not achieving that goal. Well, again, because 95% of the behavior comes from the subconscious, there are the subconscious limiting beliefs and limiting emotions that actually prevent them from doing it. So that book shows you how to pinpoint and eliminate all of the limiting beliefs and limiting emotions that are preventing you from getting what you want. And then
Right.
book
Okay.
number 3 is called Math Magic. I've discovered there's a lot of children who don't do well in math because math is a left brain activity.
Hmm.
And so you have a lot of kids who are right brain. So they struggle with
Mm-hmm.
math. And even a lot of parents, there are things, probably you didn't learn in school in math because teachers didn't know how to teach in a way that matched your brain, and that matched your learning style.
Don't get me started on that. I had a tough time with math in school.
Mhm.
I really struggled. And I remember there was a different type of math when I went to school. They've changed things a lot since then. But I remember there were these sequences. So there was math sequential one, sequential two, sequential three. And it would just get harder and harder. And I remember trying sequential three, and I was just having such a hard
Mhm.
time. And I ended up switching to a business math
Mhm.
class, which was a joke. It's here's how you write a check.
Mhm.
Here's how you learn about everyday business stuff, which I found to be very interesting,
Mhm.
and I really enjoyed it. But it it's just, it became such a struggle that, I felt like the teacher only taught in one way, to your point, and I wasn't getting it. So something wasn't clicking in my brain.
Mhm.
And when I went to college, I took a probability and statistics class, and I was learning standard deviation. And I remember struggling with that. And I got a math tutor on campus, and that math tutor just knew the right way to explain things to me.
Mhm.
And I went from a potential D in that math class, and I ended up earning a B
Mhm.
plus, and that was a very big deal for me because math was so difficult for me that getting something just shy of an A was a huge win for me.
Mhm.
So I really had wished that that more teachers just knew how to get through to kids like me
Right.
when it came to math, because that was hard for me. And similarly with
Mm-hmm.
chemistry on the science side,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like that might involve some math or
Mm-hmm.
something, or a part of my brain where I just didn't really grasp certain fundamental things, and I had a tough time.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So for you to say like the fundamentals. So this math book that I have, and there's a math chart. On this one chart, what I've done with the chart, I made it so it's whole brain. And on this
mhm.
one chart, there's at least 40 fundamental concepts on this one sheet of paper, on this one chart.
Wow.
That you and you can see it, because all math is really is patterns. And
Hmm.
but on this thing, you can see it, you can see the patterns, and it's color coded. So for anyone out there who, if you're having trouble helping your kid with math, this is for you. And if your kid is having trouble with math, this is for you. It teaches the fundamentals, and it also helps you eliminate the limiting beliefs that prevent you from learning math with ease. Because you know what? Learning is really supposed to be easy. And it's the teacher's
Hmm.
job to make it easy. But because
Right.
when teachers go to school to become teachers, they don't teach them that. They teach teachers how to teach subjects. They don't teach them how to
Huh.
teach people.
You know what's funny? So I went to school to become a
Yes.
teacher, and that was where I started my career before I ended up in marketing. And when I went to college, they handed me about 85 children's books, like young adult novels and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Some were fiction, some were nonfiction. They said, read all of these. We're going to quiz you on this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, when are you going to teach me how to be a
Mm-hmm.
teacher? And that never
Right.
happened. I had a real life experience because they have you student teach at the
Mm-hmm.
end before they, set you out there into the
Yeah.
wild. And,
That's it.
you
Into
know,
the wild. That's
before,
exactly what it is.
yeah. And I felt like, reading all these books, okay, great. So I'll remember, the plots and the characters of some of these stories and the themes, and I can teach that great. But when are you going to teach me how to handle these
Exactly.
kids with their behavioral
Yes.
issues, and you know what, they challenged me because I was 21 years old and I was teaching kids that were 17 and
Yes.
16 years old. They were so close to my
Yes.
age, and it was such a challenge, and nobody taught
Yes.
me how I was going to handle all of
Right.
that. And I really, struggled with
Yes.
that.
Melissa, that is why I'm doing what I'm doing. You have, I mean, just what you went through, many teachers go through that because they don't teach. I'm telling you, well, you already know they teach you how to teach a subject, but they don't teach you how to teach people. I teach how to teach people.
That's the key. That's
Yes,
the key.
ma'am.
So tell us about music with a purpose. How much does music play a role in education? And tell us about the videos that you've been making, because you got a lot going
I
on.
do.
I'm real excited to talk about that.
Yes. Well, you know, um, because I specialize in social and emotional learning, I have discovered that you can use music to get a child to learn well, to get them to express their emotions. My key here, I want children and whoever works with children, I want them to experience social and emotional mastery, right? I want them to be able to be the master of their emotions. So I have done some music classes, and since COVID, I've been doing this stuff online, and I've been talking with kids and asking them questions about, how they feel about what's going on. And these kids, I mean, they are really astute. They can talk about this COVID thing and what's going on, and
Hmm.
I can see the stress in them. And so what I'll do is I let them talk about it, and then I'll put on some music, something that I have created, and either I'll start singing or I'll start rapping, for them, and just to watch them transform, because they're watching me and they're listening to what I'm saying, and then they might start to move and then start to dance, and then I challenge them. I have them come up with their own lyrics, so they're expressing their emotion through music and through song. And music is very healing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doing. And because, I sang before I could talk. That's what they told me. My mother used to tell me that my first words were E-I-E-I-O, and they were that low, right? Can you imagine a baby? E-I-E-I-O. So
That's funny.
yeah. So, I've been singing, all my life. There was a period of time where, music has always been important to me, and singing and performing. And then there was a period of time, where I couldn't sing. I couldn't sing because I was suffering with anxiety. And I didn't know that's what it was anxiety and all of that, but I couldn't sing. And I lost that ability to sing and communicate musically. And it was, it was, it was just heart wrenching, And so being able to overcome that and to master my own emotions. And in order to overcome that problem, I had to master my own emotions. And so because I've done that, I want to share that with as many young people as possible, because do you know how many young people are walking around out there feeling like they don't belong, or feeling alone,
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yes. So music has just been magical for me. I mean, kids tell me all kinds of things because I'll put some music on and, we'll sing together, and I'll motivate them to write their own lyrics, and they've never done it before. And so I have this ability to use my creativity and fun to help people overcome struggles and find the freedom to bring out the best in themselves.
That's great. What kind of music did you listen to growing
come on
up?
now. Jackson 5. Woo-hoo.
There you go. No,
Jackson
that's great.
5, Aretha Franklin, uh, The Fifth Dimension, OJ's,
Nice.
that kind of stuff. And then, now, I had that, and then I had another side. Are you familiar with Handel's Messiah?
No, I'm not.
I learned how to sing Handel's Messiah. And when we're done, or when you get a minute, look that up on Google. I learned how to sing that when I was 6 and 7.
Wow. I'm gonna check
The whole Messiah, I learned how to sing that at that age. And I was singing the tenor part and the alto part. I know.
Wow.
So I had a very rich musical experience as a child. Where I learned these classical pieces, and vocal control, and so it was awesome. And then, right before my mother died, she bought me this player piano, and I taught myself to play. So, I would be playing, and then, when she died, somehow, I don't know. And then when I got signed over to foster care, I don't know what happened to the piano. I don't know what happened to it. So even that, just that loss, all of that fuels me, because I know that I never, I don't recall anyone asking me how I felt when I was a child. And we didn't talk about emotions. We just didn't. But music was a way for me to express myself and express my emotions. And I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now. So I want to give that experience to as many young people and as many people as possible. So all of my music has an emotional component and a healing component, an uplifting component, but it's very real. You know what I mean? It's like wholeness. It's not, oh, we're always jolly and happy all the time. It's not that. It's about us being whole. Because we have happy
Mm.
birthdays, happily ever after, happy meals, but what happens when, the Prince Charming runs off with a toad? You know what I'm saying? What do you do if you never learn how to deal with sadness and grief and anger? So all of my music is fostered wholeness in people.
No, that's great. That's great. So, you know, if we were to look at social media and talk about how that's kind of changed your life, and what are the things that you enjoy about social media, especially with your videos and your music playing a role?
Well, because I'm creative, I love creating. I can create something and I can share it instantly. Sharing is very important to me too. And because I'm not able to go into schools right now, I can create something and put it out there and I can share it with people. And it's amazing because it's like I'm attracting these people who are hungry. They have been looking for my services and didn't even know they were looking for my services, you know? And
That's right.
so I
That's right.
can make a significant contribution into the well-being of as many people as possible. That is probably not probably, that's like the number one thing. Plus, I can do it in a way that's creative and fun. Oh my God, that's like heaven for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's sharing at your
It
fingertips.
is. Now there's a challenge. There's a challenge because it's here and it's right at my fingertips. All I have to do is push a button, right? And because it's something I like to
Mm-hmm.
do, the challenge now is creating that sense of balance for myself. Because
Right.
if you overdo anything, it's more harmful than good.
Mm, yeah, and I can see that being a difficult challenge for young children with their emotional development too, with all this social media craziness, and TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and
Yeah,
Snapchat. It's never ending. There's so much going
yeah.
on, and it can easily consume you.
Yes. And if we're
Social
talking
media.
about children, because look, uh, they're, remember, their brains are not fully developed. They're highly
Hmm.
influenced by their peers, and by a lot of this stuff on social media. If children do not develop unstoppable self esteem, I mean, powerful self esteem, and unstoppable confidence, they're going to be, they're going to be, they're going to be brutalized because the world judges very harshly. And it comes through
Hmm.
social media. A lot of it comes through social media. You watch the news sometimes, and you when they're talking about maybe a celebrity and a celebrity who has maybe fallen from grace, quote unquote, who has made a mistake,
Hmm.
and the mistake is public.
Hmm.
Man, they get ripped apart. They get ripped
Yeah, they do.
apart. Nobody is saying, wait a minute, this celebrity is a human being
Yeah.
that is going to make mistakes. You never know what this human being went through. You don't know
Right.
why this person did what they did. So,
Right.
look, they found me cooking for myself when I was 2. And when I was 5,
Mm.
I was abducted and talked the man into letting me go. When I was 6, my mother tried to commit suicide, and I knew what she was doing. When I was 11, I came home and stopped her second suicide attempt. Do you know what that did to me emotionally?
Oh,
Right.
forget it.
We don't even want to go into it. You never know what people have gone through. You don't know why they're doing what they're doing. But the world does not take that into account. They will judge you very harshly. So children need to have uh, unstoppable confidence. They need to love that. They need to be taught to choose to love themselves and to accept themselves and approve of themselves no matter what.
Right. So, is there anything you're working on right now that you'd like our audience to know about?
Oh, yes. There's a project on Patreon.
Okay.
It's called Miss Jackson's Education Consulting.
Okay.
They might also find it under Miss Jackson's Success and Mastery Consulting. And on that site, they can subscribe there. And, you know, I've been in over 1,000 classrooms. I have seen just about everything. And
I bet.
yes, I have. I know what works and I know what doesn't work. And the fortunate thing is, people who subscribe to that, to Patreon, they will get to see me doing things in real time. You'll get to actually see me on video, you know, calming a child, you know, or see me teaching teachers how to get the kids to pay attention for longer periods of time. You know, you'll get to actually see live footage of people in the trenches, you know, doing this stuff and me showing them how to do it more effectively. You know, so I mean, I don't know where else you can find something like that, you know, where you actually can see it being done and learn. So that's something that's there. I'm also working on a new song. It's called Find a Way. So that'll be coming out very soon. Oh, yes. My YouTube channel. If they go to my YouTube channel, which is at Selina Joy Jackson, will you give that spelling for them in writing? So as they're listening to this, they'll be able to, you know, just go to the link.
Yeah. And also, I was going to remind the audience to visit you at selinajoyjackson.com. So they can check out the latest and greatest and see what you're about and the projects you're working on. You have some music videos that can be accessed there and on your Patreon channel. So I want to make sure that everybody is reaching you there. Selina, SelinaJoyJackson. Selina Joy Jackson.
Yay!
So listen, this has been amazing. I'm so glad you were able to meet tonight for the podcast. And thank you so much for your time and all your wonderful words of wisdom. I'm sure a lot of teachers and parents and children really appreciate everything that you've been doing for them. Really great work.
Thank you for inviting me. You know, Melissa, my goal is to help teachers and parents to feel less anxious and less insecure and to feel less out of control of the results they want so that they can make a significant contribution to their own well-being and the well-being of their children. So I appreciate you giving me this platform to share what I do. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. So have a great rest of your week, what's left of it, and enjoy your weekend. And we look forward to seeing more exciting things coming from you. And of course, your videos, because they're so awesome. And if you haven't checked them out, I'm telling everybody you need to check out Ms. Jackson's videos because they're pretty amazing. And she's a pretty awesome rapper. I
loved your comment on the last little clip I did. You were like, boom.
That's right. Yeah. I saw that on your Instagram and I was like, boom. So yeah, it's so amazing. I love what you're doing. So, all right. Well, take care and we will talk.
Okay, honey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in tonight to A Breath of Fresh Marketing, and we'll see you soon.